Um, well, after hearing all the landscape of Philippine education, I think I come in very timely, okay? Because my why not question, I think, is answers, as a teacher, a lot of the questions that have been previously posed, no? I think in my life as an educator, I've always been asking why not questions all throughout. In fact, I think it's cornerstone, especially when you're pioneering something. And in the chance that we had, we pioneered the first multiple intelligence school in the country. Okay, and from a preschool, now it has grown into a high school. And in fact, we have also taken the challenge to replicate it. We have been doing comprehensive school reform projects in daycare centers in the Visayas. No? And so, at this point, they initially told me that I have around 10 minutes to talk. So I think what I can do best is to give you a snapshot of our journey and a snapshot of the why not questions that we have asked along the way. And hopefully, you will adapt some of these ideas and make them your own. Okay? And because I think a lot of you are educators or administrators, it always begins with you. No? So let me just talk a little bit about our journey as a school. So first of all, may I know how many of you are educators? Doesn't matter if you're a teacher, an administrator, pakitaas lang po ng kamay. All right. So, education, okay, is one of the noblest professions. So actually, I salute you for choosing that profession. And all the more, I salute you for choosing to stay in the Philippines. So palakpakan po natin lahat ng educators. It is a very difficult choice to make. And I guess that's where my why not question comes in. My why not question is, why not use your intelligences to make a difference? Can we all say that? Okay, I want you to sit on that question a little bit. It's very unusual. You might think, oh, why is she asking why not use your intelligences to make a difference and talk about, curriculum and school reform? Okay, sometimes it sounds like more like a political slogan or a social slogan. Okay, and I answer that because this is the question. Okay, you always start with yourself when you talk about innovation. And this is the question that I sort of hang on to, okay, when I decided to make the brave choice to come back to the Philippines. Okay. I guess I had the privilege of taking my graduate degrees in Boston. And when I was there, I was very proud of how, I was raised as a Filipino, and I felt I was a pretty good student. But when I was there, a lot of questions came into my head. No? And I guess the stark reality was that there were a lot of social problems in the Philippines. Okay? But instead of being one of those Filipinos who'll say, kawawa naman ng Pilipinas, or, there's so many problems, I wanted to be part of that solution. Little things that would annoy me, like, why do people cross the street when there is nobody who will catch them, when clearly there is, it clearly says, okay, bawal tumawid dito. Okay? Why do young kids no longer show the same kind of respect to adults? And a lot of the solutions I felt really came from education. As a teacher, I felt, nako, walang nagturo na teacher ng tama sa batang ito. And so, I decided that I wanted to ask a brave question and say to myself, can we expect a generational change as a teacher? Do we want our children, this future generation, to actually change so that they can be better leaders for our country? And why not through education? Okay? And so in my stay in the United States, two things struck me. One was the realization that there was really, we were as educators empowered to make that difference in our classroom. And second, okay, I guess one of my life-changing moments was that I had I was fortunate to be able to work and speak to Dr. Howard Gardner, who is actually the proponent of the multiple intelligence theory. We did not create it, it is his work. And the basic idea is very simple. All throughout our lives, okay, we only think of certain people as intelligent, okay, and some people as not intelligent. So let's just do a quick check in the audience. How many of you graduated the top 10% in your class? Please raise your hand. Wala po ba? Oh, they're all here in the speaker section. Okay, is that telling? Okay. If you think about it, we're almost all educators, no? And so they say that with age, the number of hands raised are inversely proportional to age. Totoo po ba yun? When you ask a group of preschool students, how many of you are intelligent? How many hands go up? Everybody, they all think they're smart. Okay? But if you ask a group of high school students, how many of you are intelligent? There are high school students there? How many of you are intelligent? Wala nang gusto magtaas ng kamay, no? So if you will think about it, why has the yearning for learning stopped? When was the start wherein we were no longer question marks as a child and we end our education career as periods? Okay? The passion for learning disappears along the way, and as a teacher, I'm not afraid to be accountable for that. Okay? And so, we started an alternative education school wherein that would foster multiple intelligences. And this is our 13th year in operation. We run programs from toddlers, which are 1.5-year-old kids, all the way up to a high school. And our high school has a thrust for entrepreneurship and leadership. Okay? So, the very first question that we had to deal with as a teacher, as an educator, as an institution, is a paradigm shift in terms of thinking about students. The change starts with you. Diba sabi nga ni Mahatma Gandhi, let me be the change that I want to see in the world. Okay? So, if you want to see changes in your school, in your classroom, it begins with you. And the first thing that changes is your lens. So the why not question there is why not intelligence for all? If you think about it, and we say only 10% of our students are intelligent or considered intelligent. In a class of 40, how many students are those? Logical math over there. 4. Okay? If you have 4 kids constantly raising their hand all the time, as a teacher, you feel, wow, I'm such a good teacher. Okay? They're kids who get it in my class. Okay? How about all the rest? How about all the rest? Okay? And that is the power that the lens of multiple intelligence gives. It says, let's not look at individuals with a narrow view of intelligence and only consider those who are good in what we call the academic or scholastic intelligences as intelligent. What are these intelligence? The linguistic intelligence, okay, and the logical math intelligence. Di ba po, they always say reading, writing, and arithmetic. Okay? So, typically, all of us have grown up in a traditional school, and this is the emphasis in the classrooms. But Dr. Gardner proposes another theory that based on his neurological work and his work in psychology, that all of us, no exception, has 8 intelligences. Okay? So I'm just going to randomly call out these intelligences because I'm going to show you a video afterwards. I'm going to get the kids to explain what they are. So, first would be linguistic intelligence or word smart. Okay, meaning you're very comfortable speaking, writing, reading. Okay? I want you to think of yourself as a teacher because you will probably use the strategies, okay, in the classroom that you are most comfortable in or your strongest intelligence. Second is the logical math intelligence. You're very good at doing numbers. You enjoy doing cause and effect. Okay? Third intelligence would be the spatial intelligence. These are people who think in terms of images. Okay? And you will bore your child if you keep on talking and talking in the classroom if you don't have images to show. Okay? And next would be musical intelligence. Okay? Music is not a minor subject. To some people, this is really how they encode information. My daughter once told me, she goes, Mom, did you know that the multiplication is just a rap? Okay? Because it was taught in a way that was a rap. And that's how she memorized her multiplication table. In fact, Joey Ayala, who I love working with, he told me, you know, Teacher Joy, if I went to a multiple intelligence school, maybe all the more I would appreciate how music can be used as a valid medium to talk about the environment. Okay? And so that's another intelligence. Naturalist intelligence, these are kids who are always crawling. They're always dirty, looking at ants, okay, wanting for a pet. Okay? These are kids who are very curious about flora and fauna. Okay? Another intelligence would be bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Nowadays, ADHD is just like every kid who is magulo or every kid who moves has ADHD, no? But if you think about it, there are people who really need to encode information by moving. Okay? Meaning, think about yourself sitting in a desk in your office for 4 hours and somebody telling you, don't stand. Okay? You probably cannot think. And that's why sometimes maybe it's the teachers who move from one classroom to the other. Okay? Instead of the students. All right. And then there is what you will call one of my favorite. My two favorite are what we call the personal intelligences. Interpersonal intelligence or people smart. We have a lot of politicians who are not good in math, not good in linguistic intelligence, but are people smart. They are leaders. They are leaders in the playground. And the last is the child you often overlook in the classroom. They are the self-smart children, or what we will call the intrapersonal child. Meaning these are children who will sit there, think of why not questions, understand what's going on, and decide to contribute once they know how to contribute. Okay? So all of us have all 8 intelligences, and basically, what happens is that our unique profile, okay, predisposes us as a learner. Okay? So teachers have such a great responsibility to be able to reach and teach these children in the classroom. If you are a parent, how many of you are parents? Okay. How many of you have more than one child? Okay. How many of you feel that your 2 or more children are exactly alike? No hands. Okay. Why? Because even if you raise them in the same way, they're very different. They're their unique person. So what gives us as teachers the right to think that all of our students are the same? Okay? So the challenge to reach our students is to use multiple ways to learning. We use the framework of multiple intelligences as entry points to teach students in the classroom. Okay? It's not very difficult. You'll tell me, how can we do it with 40 students? Okay, we're lucky we have 20 to 25. Okay? But I tell you, okay, even in the province, we did a 2-year project in Bohol, in places that are ngit-ngit. You know what ngit-ngit is? Anyone who's Bisaya? Dark, no water, nothing, no CR. Okay, then they told me, Teacher Joy, all these things that you're talking about with all your beautiful materials, yes, you can do MI because you have an enriched environment. But here we're ngit-ngit, there's nothing. And I said, you know why? Because you forget that the greatest resource in the classroom is the teacher. Okay, you go out, it's so beautiful outside, you don't have Unifix cubes to count, but you have stones to count. Okay? And then my biggest aha moment, when I was challenging them to use different entry points to learning. There's one child who goes to school every day riding the tricycle. Okay? And the teacher, after we talked about enriching her lesson plan, she goes, you know what I discovered? We can use the tricycle driver to talk about his tricycle. And that there are 3 wheels, and that, and talk about his work. And I realized, see, we have converted a teacher who was so bored doing her lesson plan to a thinking teacher. To a thinking teacher. And if you are a thinking teacher, the possibilities are limitless. Okay? So in our class, what we have tried to do, I cannot teach you how to do it, but then I can give samples. Okay? For example, how many of you know how much of the Philippine rainforest is left? Anybody know? We're all teachers. I bet you teach this in your class. May science teacher po ba? Or social studies teacher? Well, do not be shy. Can you give a guess? See, that's why when our kids grow up to be the DNR secretary, They will be apathetic to the rainforests of the Philippines because we have not taught it. Okay, anybody? Guess. Yes, ma'am. 4%, close. We have 6% of the Philippine rainforest left. Okay, and when our kids saw this minute line, okay, when we're talking about the rainforest, our second graders went, oh, does that mean when we grow up, no more rainforest? And I'm like, yeah, possibly. And they're like, how about the animals? What will happen to all the animals in the rainforest? Okay, and as a response, we talked to experts to come into our classroom. Okay, we had different organizations talk to them about what are endemic species. And their learning output or their performance of understanding more than a quiz, they can do a quiz, that's not a problem, but it does not show if they understand, was a book. It's an original book. I don't know if you can show it up close. Okay, it's entitled, Where Are the Animals in the Rainforest? Okay, and the children contributed based on their intelligence. Picture smart children drew, nature smart children researched, okay, word smart children wrote the story, okay, and it's an authentic ISBN book. And we have supported this process because what was my why not question? My why not question was, why not teach for understanding? Why are we in the classrooms in the first place? Do we just want to teach for academic excellence? Okay? Oftentimes as an administrator, that's what we think. The goal of education is knowledge. I choose to answer or ask a different question. The goal of education is how do you use that knowledge to make a difference? Okay? So it should not stop at just wanting to tool kids. An indication if children have understood is if they can use what they know in meaningful ways. Okay? And thus, okay, I go back to my original why not question, which was, I'm sorry, why not use your intelligences to make a difference? Okay, if you are equipped with the skill to read, to write, to understand, okay, and you know that there is a context by which this is applied. In our school, we deliberately and systematically build 3 C's, okay? Capacity, character, and community. Capacity to learn, the character to choose to do what is right, and the community by which it will be applied, okay? And if you do that, you will expect, okay, a generational change among students, and they can be future leaders who will want to use what they know to make a difference. And this is what is unique to the Philippine application of multiple intelligences. I just came from New York, and we met. We are 21 countries, and we're collaborating on making a book. It's going to be Multiple Intelligences Around the World. It is an international publication that will be out in April. And our school is unique in the sense that among all the MI schools in the world, okay, we are the only school that marries multiple intelligences and good work. Why do we want to do that? Dahil Pilipino tayo. Okay, we are a developing country. And thus we want that education be meaningful. You spend so much time. How many hours a day do you spend on preparation of lessons? Anybody can shout out a number. How many hours in a day do you, the teachers who prepare, how many hours? 8? 6? Imagine yung 8 hours you invest in this child. Invest it so that your work is meaningful. That they eventually get your passion, okay, and want to use what they know to make a difference. Now, I would like to pause here and allow some of the children in our school to talk about what they have to say.
These seniors promise to save trees. We also promise to help animals to recycle paper from senior A.
half just hear them break.
I'd like my readers to be entertained and feel captivated with my stories. And I'd like them to see the moral lessons in what I write. I wish that my stories would inspire people to try and make a difference.
Once upon a time, there lived a monkey. He was lost and needed a home. First, he tried living in the snowy mountains, but it was too cold. So he tried living in the desert, but it was too hot. Then the monkey found a place with lots of plants, trees, with fruits, and even a river with fish swimming in it. It was a tropical rainforest. The monkey found his home at last. He was so happy that because it was just right for him. The end.
I can make a difference.
Have been to sorrow.
We sell different kinds of things that we make during class.
Where I'll be tomorrow.
We think of what the people might want and how much they're willing to buy it for.
The darkest desert. Through the deep
We earned a lot of money.
forward. Always.
Some people even wanted to buy stuff even though there are no more.
What a journey.
In the business spots, we are like young business people. We make other people buy from us by advertising. We can make a difference!
They're bound to guide my
Call our cousins, friends, and our classmates, cousins, lolo, lola, and to tell our mom and dad to like bring some more newspapers and some paper that they don't use to build the greenhouse at the back of the school. We are proud to get the greenhouse at the back of the school.
We believe in the difference!
has been.
Hi, I like to run with my mom and dad in marathons.
But the stars are out tonight, and they're bound to.
Can make others aware that people with discipline have rights too, just like you and me. I can make a difference.
Always forward.
I made the parang Christmas and we have to seal them so we can donate them to the bahay magmahal.
There are some people who are in wheelchairs and they have no hands and feet, so they're trying to do their best to study.
And is not inside.
I like to take photos. I think I show nice ones and things that I think of. I want people to take care of nature and make a difference.
We make a difference!
I won't let the dark.
We made our new playground here for our greenhouse, and we also had a goldfish pond. Every Friday we plant and do gardening here in the greenhouse and also in other places. If we didn't have any plants or trees, rainfall would cause erosion and large places of land would slide down. We make a difference!
What a journey.
We are very proud of being Filipinos. That's why we like to play our instruments from long time ago until now. This is our instruments: the angklu, the bakal, the sulunay, butterfly and the tomato. With our music, we can make a difference. We can make a difference. We make a difference. We make a difference.
What a journey it has been.
So I hope that the children themselves inspire you. If they can do it, I think as educators, we can do a better job at making a difference. So the light that I always talk about starts with ourselves. Perhaps we can start asking ourselves the why not question of why are we educators in the first place, and remind ourselves of our passion, why we're here, and hopefully you yourselves will find your own answers, and that the journey would be something meaningful in helping hone our students or our children to be better citizens and the future hope of our country. So thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Teacher Joy. We have one or two questions po. Yes, any questions? I know that there are some parents here from Multiple Intelligence. Si Rolly is there. Any questions? Okay, while people are still trying to think of questions. Ma'am, can this methodology, can it be done in a larger scale, for example? There was a lot of talk, and I think we'll have more discussion on the traditional methods that are being used now in our public schools and some of our private schools. If they shift to a multiple intelligence system, can it be done, I guess, without much cost or without much... where will the issues be if we were to shift to a multiple intelligence system?
Okay. There are many ways to, I guess, adapt the multiple intelligence framework in the classroom. At the very basic level, it is in reference to the lens of the teacher. Okay? So simply doing a mind shift, okay, or a paradigm shift, and looking at your kids and saying, you know, I'm not just going to pay attention to these 5 or 6 kids who are always raising their hands, but really trying to reach out to your students to have a wider menu of strategies so that they will learn, okay, and that more meaningful strategies. That is already at a very basic level, you know, what a teacher can do. Okay, the next step, I guess, after that, is to make institutional decisions. Okay, then you will have administrators sort of commit to the vision by, you know, paying attention to curriculum, paying attention to integration, paying attention to mentorships. Okay, we're partial to getting experts rather than generalists, you know, things like that. So that's another level of being an MI school, no? And I guess the third level is really institutionally to be a community, okay? A community of learners, a community of parents, teachers, and people from, you know, from the general community contribute to enriching that particular school, no? So it's very possible. It's just that there has to be a commitment to make it happen, no? So in the same way that in Bohol, the commitment was from the local government to say, we want this, no? And the teachers, you know, they're saying, nakaano daw sila, most number of biogesics. Because sumakit ang ulo nila, okay? But I said, the reward, try it. And you see if you feel better as a teacher. And a lot of them felt that it was, you know, worth committing to.
Okay. A question, please? None? Because I'm going to throw another one. Kung wala kayong tanong. Okay. I'd like to ask about that, no, ma'am. A number of talks that I've attended also, people have said that the problem are the resistance of the teachers, no, to new methodologies. Could you share a little bit more about your experience with talking to the teachers in Bohol, or even your own teachers probably, who are schooled in the traditional sense?
I have nothing against the traditional system. I grew up in a traditional system, except that I guess as a person, I've always been a problem solver. I always wanted to create things. No? In fact, that's the definition of Gardner of intelligence. Imagine it's not an IQ score. It's your ability to problem solve and create products that are valued in a cultural setting. Okay, that's the definition of intelligence. So it immediately implies an application, okay, of what you know. Okay, and it's not, as you say, simply a test score. Okay, because not all students who are at the top 10% of the class become the leaders of our nation. Okay, not all good students become successful individuals later on. Okay, so the idea is that, you want to be able to challenge, I guess, teachers, okay, to sort of widen and not be scared to widen their menu of teaching. If all the time they've been standing in front of the blackboard and saying, turn to page 35 and read it and answer it, just because it's easier. Diba? Parang imagine you're controlling 50 students and you're gonna make them do a group game. Chaos, no? So, but just try adding one methodology at a time to widen your entry points to learning, and you will see that the children themselves invest in the learning process. Parang you won't be pushing them to study because they're so excited. They're so excited. Imagine that book. You'll say, initially we did not conceptualize that they were gonna actually publish a book. But they were so excited, they took matters into their own hands, they created the story, And
you were inspired by the kids already, not the other way around.
Yes.
All right. We're gonna, any takers? Going, gone? Yes, Timmy, one question.
See, I wish I studied in your school. I think I would have been a better person. Parang dun sa school ko, parang sobra ako na one-dimensionalized. And I really wish, for myself and for my cousins at least, that we studied in your school. But my question is for young parents like my office mates or even myself, the first tangible goal was to get into a good college. Of course, we can discuss being a good person, get a good job, but siguro the first real goal was just getting into a respectable college. Maybe you could comment on some of the kids. I'm not sure if your kids have already moved on to college, but maybe MI schools from other parts of the world and how they're doing in that first step.
Okay. As I've said, the very basic, you cannot write a book if you do not know how to spell, construct a sentence properly, okay? So, academic competence is a prerequisite, to make you be able to apply because you understand. Now, the thing is, what is ironic about parents is that if they feel that their children are enjoying school, they feel that their children are learning less. Okay? Kasi kids come home, gawa na yung homework, they're happy, they're talking to you all the time, they're thinking, maybe it's not so hard, diba? Okay, so that's the initial resistance. Ako naman, I tell my parents, if they have difficulty, they can't answer it, you have to raise it to the teacher because why can't they get it, diba? So it's a different mindset altogether. Now, when you talk about a child, eventually, how do they do against traditional counterparts? In the States, they've already done a study across schools. They're called the summit schools. And the results show that, number one, kids fare better on their SATs because they understand. Okay. Second, people have stronger personal intelligences, so they have the discipline for work. They're not doing their work because they're scared of teacher. They're doing their work because they enjoy it, because they're passionate about it, and that, they feel that they're the ones responsible for it. So, in terms of work skills, it's very developed, okay? And third, there are less dropout rates because a parent in a multiple intelligence school will become part of the community, part of the resources, and thus parental involvement becomes higher, okay? So, all of this allows this child not just to be a mediocre student, but rather pushes the child to also ask their personal why not questions, and eventually, hopefully, they will find themselves in leadership positions. Ako naniniwala ako, I appreciate all the hard work of teachers in the public schools because I've been to many public schools and I understand how difficult it is to teach in those situations. However, we are in a unique we have the unique opportunity of thinking, genuine change will really come from leadership, not from grassroots. Okay, you need a few people who will have the moral integrity to use their intelligences to make a difference. And that's where I'm coming from. So this is a small school, but we hope that, from this small school, we'll have children who will initiate at least a generational change in their generation.
Mga kaibigan, Ms. Joy Abaquin, Multiple Intelligence School, thank you very much, ma'am.